Next, let's look at some of the ways we can control the flow of executing the various statements in VBA. We will look at if-then, for-next loops, do-while loops, and do-until loops. First, looking at the if-then construct. We say if, and we give the condition, something that results in a true or false, and put then. We would then put the true instructions that we'd like to run. Then we write else, put the false ones, and end if. Notice the then, else, and end if are all on separate lines. If you only have one thing that you want it to do if true, you can put it all on one line by saying if, and put the true-false condition, then, and state what you would like it to do. In that case, you don't use an end if. Let's look at this if-then example. You're going to give an insult. Let's take a look at the underlying code. I'm going to my VBA, and we see that we have our current class project here. There's modules. I'm going to open that up and look at the functions. This first function is what we want to look at. It's called insult, and it looks at the time of day. If the time is less than 0.333, that would be until 8 o'clock in the morning, then the insult is, your mother was a hamster. If time is greater than 0.333, or greater than 8 o'clock, but less than 4 o'clock, then the insult is, your father smells of elderberry. And if the time is greater than 4 o'clock, then the insult is, go home, you slob. Currently, my time is in the early afternoon, so it should pick the second alternative and say, insult equals, your father smells of elderberry. Notice insult is the name of the function, and when you want to return something for the function, you set that name equal to whatever it is that you're returning. Let's go back and look at this. So here was the insult equals insult, open and close paren. We treat it like any other function. It automatically looks at the clock on the machine and says, oh, well, it's early afternoon, so the insult is, your father smells of elderberry. The next example, produced by some of my students, is called holiday. You'll notice here it takes 3 inputs. We'll take those 3 different inputs. Let's take a look at the function. Remember, I use Alt-11 to quickly go back and forth. Here you can see the function called holiday, first date of the month. And this is input as a date. The day of the week as an integer, and the desired week as an integer to create the holiday. If you remember, when we studied dates, we looked at creating our own holidays. Here, you create your holiday by inputting these 3 parameters, and then it uses the formula that we used in dates to create that holiday. If you read through these formulas carefully and then compare it with the earlier work on dates and holidays, you'll see that they're very similar. After these inputs are given, it's going to return a date. It does that by setting holiday equal to that date. This may not be the most elegant function the way it's written, but you can see the process. They set holiday equal to what they want based on a set of conditions. One other thing that I'd like you to note is that here we've declared our variable type. Here, first date of month, and it says as date. So we're saying that this has to be that type of a variable. Day of week as integer. It'll only accept integers. Desired week as an integer. And finally, at the end here, you'll notice the whole thing after the parens will return holiday as a date. We've declared the different variables that can be used in this function. Let's return and take a look at it. So we have First day of January, day of the week is 2, we said, and the week of the month is the 3rd. So it's going to give us Monday, January 18 in 2010. Here's November 1st, 2050, the 5th day of the week, which would be Thursday, and the 4th week. So Thanksgiving will fall on Thursday, November 24th in the year 2050. Next, let's look at 4 next loops. 4 next loops create a loop that allows you to tell the computer how many times you want to repeat the loop, if you know that already in advance. So here we have the syntax for counter equals start, and you'd give it the first number you start with, maybe 1, and end on 10. In that case, it would loop through it 10 times. You have all your instructions, and when exit the for loop. This instruction allows the computer to terminate when a certain value is reached, but isn't used in our example. The end of this is the for and the next. And I can say the name of the counter as well if there's any question which loop I'm in. So here's an example here that we'll look at on the other side as well. But we have the function, sum of the integers from first to last. We set total equal to 0, and then it goes whatever was first to whatever's last. It keeps adding in that new number to total until it gets all the way through. When we're all done, we set the function called integers equal to total, and that will be the amount that is returned. Alt F11, you can see we have the same thing right here. And so that is a for next loop. Let's run a quick example of this. We have the first integer here, the last integer here, and we say sum the integers 1 through 10. Let's go to our sheet briefly, and we want to see the code actually go through this loop. So I'm going to put a stop variable here on the side by clicking on this edge. Every time we get to that, it will stop and let us walk it through. Going back to the other page, I am now going to come up here and click on it and say enter. Okay, you'll notice if I hover over here, first is equal to 1, last is equal to 10, total now is equal to 0. We've defined total, and we've defined a variable called num. We haven't said what type of data it is, but we'll let it be a variant. That is, we'll let VBA figure that out for the time being. So we set total equal to 0, and then for num equal to first, that's 1 to last, 10. And I can step through this by hitting the F8 key. Okay, so it executed this first statement. If I hover over num, it is now 1. I click F8, total is now equal to 1. It was equal to 0 to begin with, but then we added this 1 to it. Now it says next num. Num is still 1, but as soon as I hit F8, num is now 2. And we're going to run this total. Total is still 1, num is 2. We hit F8, and total is now 3. Num is 2. We hit F8, it will go to the next one, and num is 3, total is 3. We add that to it. Now total is equal to 6. And we'll keep going through there until we get all the way through. Num is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now this is the last time through the loop. 10, next num, and num goes to 11. So that's beyond the loop. So it drops out of the loop and says sum of integers equal, the total is now 55. And it exits the function. I'm going to remove this so that we don't have to stop every time we run this. And let's go back. Our answer then returned 55. That was very useful to tell it how many times to iterate through something. What if we only wanted to add up 5 through 10? I'll change this to a 5, and we'll come down here and I'll click up here and hit enter, and that is 45. It's missing 1, 2, 3, and 4.